All right, guys, today we're going to be interviewing Chris Kaufman, one of the co-founders of StockX, a Detroit-based company. StockX is currently valued at just under $4 billion. So, who am I here with today, and what do you do?
I am Chris Kaufman. I am the co-founder of StockX and author of Empathy at Work.
Take us back to the beginning. What was the original idea behind StockX? And was there ever a moment where you thought this could really be something massive?
Yeah, so the original idea was essentially around applying stock market mechanics to a secondary retail market. And the core tenets of a stock market are anonymity, authenticity, and transparency. And what that really means is if you're buying a share of stock from a brokerage, you have no idea who you're buying it from. You know that it's real, and you know exactly what the last person paid for it. So you can make intelligent buying decisions, selling decisions, and StockX was essentially built on that same foundation. And in the beginning, we looked at all kinds of product categories. We looked at things like wine, watches, collectible cars, trading cards, coins, anything that was essentially limited supply that sold for a premium on the secondary market.
So the process was first, not the product.
Process was first, yeah. I mean, the way we were going to solve the problem came first, and then sneakers became a really obvious choice for how to apply those dynamics, for how to build a platform around. And the biggest reason was, at the time, about 70% of secondary market sneakers were still brand new in the box, which meant you could sell them like they were primary retail.
Wow.
And the biggest thing with that was, one, you didn't have to worry about used shoes. You didn't have to worry about condition grading. But even more importantly, you could have one product page for everything, one description, one set of photos. So all of the things that are super annoying about eBay, having to go in, write a description, take your photos, like it can take 30, 45 minutes to post something to eBay. And then if you're searching for something, you may get 1,000 product pages for one product, and then you're trying to sort through, figure out what's the right condition, looking at different prices, looking at who knows what the shipping is, like different across the board, like that's not standardized at all. So we really wanted to standardize something, create a platform where if you wanted to sell something, you could literally go in and click sell and sell it in one click. And if you wanted to buy something, you didn't have to sort and search for it. You had one product page, you picked your size, you see how much it is, and you buy it.
Just like the stock market.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, it was pretty easy. I bought some stuff during COVID. So you were the chief creative officer at StockX.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like? Because you guys went from 0 to 2,000 employees.
At our peak, yeah, we were around that. It changed a lot over time. In the beginning, it was just me on the creative side, and that meant doing everything. Logo, brand, website, all the marketing creative, basically everything visual that you would see at StockX, I was creating, even photography in the early days. And then, you quickly get to a point where you realize you're not going to do all that stuff yourself.
Yeah.
70 hours a week are not sustainable long term, and you start hiring people.
So that's the point where you're like working way too much. You're probably not getting the other stuff done. Quality's going down.
Yeah.
I need to delegate some of the work.
And I think that's the biggest thing. When quality starts to go down,
Yeah.
you realize it's time to bring in other people, to get help, people you can delegate to. But I think an important part of hiring a team, it's not just about having people to, pick up some of the work, take things off your plate. It's diversity of ideas and opinions, and everybody approaches things from different angles, different backgrounds, different experiences. I think one of the most powerful things about hiring a team is now you have this wealth of knowledge that you didn't have before, and people who approach things from not only far different experiences, but far different skill sets. And you're able to achieve things that weren't possible before.
Were you open-minded from other ideas, being in the position you were in? Because I know a lot of people are like, Wasn't my idea. I'm not gonna, I want to take credit for it because you were saying you have all these employees you're hiring a team.
I have always been of the mindset I would rather win than be right.
Yeah.
And however we get there, that's great.
Awesome.
And that's a team effort, right? Like, do you see somebody in the bottom of the ninth of Game 7 of the World Series and their teammate hits a walk-off grand slam and they're upset because they're not the one who did it, or are they happy that they have a World Series ring?
Yeah.
And I think
it's a great perspective.
I think you got to look at business the same way. Like, you win as a team, you fail as a team, you grow as a team.
Especially in the early days, because I'm sure you say, hey, look at this. What do you guys think about this? Can we do something like this? So being more open-minded.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
StockX went from a Detroit startup to a $3.8 billion global company. At what point in that growth did the internal culture start to feel like this was being tested? How do I handle this? How do I get control of it?
It's pretty early on, and I think, one of the things that was a advantage for us was the founders were all on the same page about culture, mission, vision, values, kind of where we wanted to go. But as you grow, you start to see silos form. And it's not always a bad thing, because your engineering team will probably have a different culture than your marketing team. Your finance team will certainly have a different culture than those teams. But at the core, as long as that mission is aligned, as long as the value system that the company is operating with is aligned, consistent across the organization, you'll be okay. You're not going to have the marketing team come in wearing Patagonia vests. Your whole finance team may do that, right? That's okay. Like, it's a cultural difference, but it's not a value difference.
When you butt heads at with somebody, because you and your founders, and I'm sure you had an idea where you're like, I have to get this across the board. Mm-hmm. We have to do this. And then someone you started the company with, I think that's stupid. I don't like that. What do you guys do in that? Is it a vote? Is it more of that you guys are all on the same page and you hear each other out? Are you still open-minded then? If it's something that is like dire hard to you?
Well, and you end up running into those situations almost every day, especially in the early days, because you've got a bunch of smart, motivated people in the room.
Yeah.
They all have an opinion on how to do things best. But I think for us, yes, there was many, many moments where we disagreed on how to get things done, what we should do first, but we were always aligned on where we wanted to go.
Okay.
And that was the important part. I think when an organization is in a position where people don't know where the end goal lies, what direction they're going in, what point they want to get to as a company.
They get lost.
That's when companies start to fall apart, culture starts to fall apart. But I think disagreement is healthy. And I think as long as you know that you want to get to the same spot, you want to win the game, you want to get to the championship, whatever it is, there can be disagreements along the way around training and conditioning and personnel and coaching styles and things like that. And the reality is, like, we talk about diversity of ideas. It only makes you stronger when there's 10 people in the room and they all have different opinions about how to do things, because those opinions are usually not arbitrary. They're usually coming from a place of experience.
Awesome. You've been very vocal about the true cost of layoffs, constant restructuring. Mm-hmm. For a young entrepreneur building their first team, what's the one thing that they get wrong most often about hiring and firing?
Usually they hire way too fast and fire way too slow. I think it's super important to spend the time to hire the right people, make sure that they have a value system that is aligned with the company value system, make sure that they align with the vision for where the company is going. And if they don't, say goodbye as soon as possible, right? If you find that they are not a fit, if you find that they are not buying into what you're doing, they are just going to drag down the rest of the team. And the faster you make that call, and I would say, like, the second you feel it, it's never going away.
Yeah, it just gets worse.
Yeah, the second you have that gut feeling where somebody isn't working out, they're not a fit, they're not fully committed, that feeling, at least in my experience, has never ever gone away.
It's an intuition that you can't scrub off.
Yeah,
right?
and it's I think when it's your business and you are intimately familiar with every single part of it and what it takes to build it and what it took to get to that point, and somebody doesn't fit with that vision, the quicker that you part ways, the better for you and the better for them. Because this is often a situation where it's not a bad person, it's not even necessarily someone who's bad at their work, it's just not a fit.
Yeah.
And there is something amazing out there in the world for them, and if you say goodbye, they are going to find whatever that is a lot faster, a lot quicker.
Yeah. I look at it like it's just a cancer that you got to cut sooner than later.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to cripple internally. They're not after the same goals you are. It just wasn't a right fit.
100%. And there's an analogy that actually came from Dan Gilbert around, like, if you had this amazing ice cream sundae, like, of course you would want to eat it. What if you put just like one little speck of dog poop in that sundae? Like 99.9% of it still might be good. But do you want to eat any of it?
No.
Or does it ruin the whole sundae?
Yeah,
and
it's ruined.
And people and culture is a lot like that.
I like that. I'm taking that. You've raised hundreds of millions in funding for someone just starting out who's never touched investor money. What do they actually need to understand before they sit in that room?
They need to have a really clear understanding of their own business. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see early entrepreneurs make, especially when they're talking to investors. They think that everyone is going to understand what's in their head. And until you can really clearly communicate that, until you can have a deck and a presentation that is going to lay out every detail of the business, why this is better than what other people are doing, why this is a problem worth solving, you're not going to convince other people to buy in. And sometimes people let their egos get in the way, and they think just because they are super passionate about something and they really believe in something that everyone else should too. But it is your job to convince people, to communicate that to people, and ultimately you have to be the salesperson for the vision of your business. And if you're failing at that, that's on you.
I see the best people when they pitch to investors. The ones that I think stand out are the ones that sound like they're talking to an 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. We have this product, here's the pain point, it fixes us, we're looking for this. Yeah. Those are the ones that I can easily understand because I'm not the smartest person. I know what they're selling. I feel like the ones that let the ego get in their way, I'm like, well, what are you selling? And it sounds like they don't know their business that well.
Yeah, there are, and I do some early stage investing. There are a lot of red flags I look for, but there's two that really stand out. Anybody who comes into the room and they say, this is going to make everyone billionaires, absolutely is not. They are not getting there, no matter what they say. The other is if they describe their business as this of something else.
So it's very vague.
Or if they're piggybacking on another business's model.
Okay.
Like, if somebody says, we are the Apple computer of
I see.
swimming pools, or like, no. I just know it's not going to work. Because if you can't clearly articulate the problem you're trying to solve, first of all, what the problem is, why you're trying to solve it, and how you're going to solve it, I don't think you have a business.
And that happens a lot.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have ideas.
Yeah. So there's a lot of red flags.
A lot of red flags, yeah. Okay. And then, like, attitude is just a big one, too. Like if somebody is not coachable, if somebody...
Because you're going to be partnering with that person.
Yeah, and they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And
if you can't coach them, what's the whole point if they're not going to grow or get better?
And I would also say, from the perspective of the entrepreneur, if you're not coachable, why do you want to partner with these people? Because you're generally going to look for investors from a strategic perspective. They can offer something to you, they can provide guidance, they can mentor you, they can help you grow as an entrepreneur and as a leader. If you don't intend to take any of that feedback, advice, you don't intend to look at your own shortcomings, areas for growth, like why are you even bothering?
Yeah. You have a book, Empathy at Work, and I know that sounds like a soft concept, but you argue it's actually a competitive advantage. Can you break that down for us? Somebody running a 10-person team right now, maybe a 50-person team?
Yeah, and I would say it doesn't matter if you're running a 10-person team, a 50-person team, or a 50,000-person organization.
The strategy doesn't change.
Strategy doesn't change. The research is there, the data supports it. Functioning as an empathetic leader is good for your business. It is good for your bottom line. It is good for the long-term sustainability of that business. It builds trust. It builds psychological safety. And it ultimately fosters an environment where employees are more creative, they're more innovative, they're willing to take more risks, they're willing to learn more, and they stick around for way longer.
So it sounds like you support them more where they don't feel threatened, where they want to, make you proud.
Yeah, because would you try something new if you felt like you might get in trouble for it?
No, not
And
at all.
And that's exactly how innovation happens, right? People take risks, they try things that haven't been done before, they experiment. If you're afraid of doing all of those things because they may not work out, and most of the time, experimentation doesn't work out, but when it does, it creates sometimes multi-billion-dollar opportunities for companies, right? Like Gmail was an experiment.
Yeah.
That wasn't something that Google set out to build and said, this is a business strategy, this is a product that's on our roadmap, right? Like that happened in like basically their 20% time, which was an opportunity for people to experiment, build things that they were interested in, and tons of interesting things have come out of that for countless businesses.
That's incredible. What is a real decision you made at StockX, hiring, product strategy, that you got completely wrong, and what did it teach you?
I think the biggest thing for me was assuming that people wanted the same things that I did. And
Everyone's motivated by something different.
everyone is motivated by something different. And I think assuming that the people want the same things as you, and then, this also kind of plays into the concept of the golden rule, which I say is complete bullshit. And I learned that over time. I tend to call it the platinum rule now, but the golden rule says that you should treat others the way that you want to be treated. Not everyone wants to be treated the way that you do.
Yeah.
I appreciate people who are direct and move fast, give clear feedback. Other people don't want feedback delivered that way.
No.
Other people are not interested in leading teams. Other people are not interested in growing businesses. Some people are just there because they enjoy what you're building and they want to write or they want to design. And one of the things that I did was a couple times I promoted people who I thought would be super excited to be promoted. I thought they would want to be leaders. I thought this was the next step in their careers. And they were kind of disappointed by it. Like, actually, I don't want a team. I don't want to lead people. Like, I just want to make cool shit and not be bothered.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I realized until that point, because I always thought, of course, like everybody wants a leader, wants to be a leader and have that title and that promotion and that salary, and not at all.
I think it took 2 or 3 of that, actually maybe 4 or 5, till I started realizing I think this is more a Peter thing.
Yeah.
And not everyone wants what I want.
Yeah.
And it was a hard learning experience.
And we learned that about so many things.
Yeah. Dan Gilbert was one of your co-founders at StockX. Like, I was built a lot of big companies here in Detroit. What did you personally learn from being in business with someone at that high level?
There's a lot of things I've learned from Dan over the years, and a lot of things that stand out, but I think the biggest one is probably don't take anything at face value, whether that is data, an opinion, where you think the market's going, and don't accept all assumptions. And I think that's something that has been a big part of Dan's success. I'm sure there were countless times that people told him he was wrong or thought he was crazy. I know when he made a decision to take what was Rock Financial, which was a brick and mortar network of mortgage company offices, and move the process entirely online when the internet was very much in its infancy. I'm sure many, many people
disagreed with
said
him.
That is absolute lunacy. It's not going to work. The business is going to tank. People won't mail in their documents or do this stuff online. Like, they want to meet with a broker, a banker in person. And he just believed that that was an assumption that was wrong. And he turned out to be right and ended up growing the largest mortgage company in the country because of it. And like, could you ever scale a brick and mortar business like that? No, of course not.
No.
But if you can reach millions of customers around the country over their computers, well, that's a much different distribution model.
Yeah, so there's a lot of noise. So don't let the noise get in the way of your goal. If you stick to your goal.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the rocket company's isms, which is ignore the noise.
Yeah, because that does
That's something he's really good at and really sticks to. And
it takes a lot of guts. It's not easy.
No, not at all. And it's something I learned as well. And even in the early days of StockX, there were a lot of things that we were doing that hadn't been done before. There were things in our business model that were probably unconventional. And there was a meeting where we were talking to some of the attorneys, and there were things they were telling us that we shouldn't do, we couldn't do. And we went to Dan and said, hey, like, we can't do this. The attorney said we can't. And he said, they work for you. They're there to give you advice. It's your business. Do what you want. It's like, listen to them or don't listen to them. That's up to you. But they're just there to give you guidance. Like, you have to choose which guidance you take.
Wow.
And that was a moment where I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting, because I think before that, we kind of just assumed, like, well, if an attorney is saying, like, we can't do something, we have to do something a certain way, we absolutely have to abide by that.
Yeah, you assume that you're just following the rules.
And his take was like, as long as you're not breaking the law, like, it's your decision to figure out how much risk you want to take as a business owner. And that was really eye-opening.
Oh, that's incredible. So you invest in early startups and advise founders. Mm-hmm. What's the number one reason that you see businesses fail? And is it usually something a founder could see, or you can see it coming early on?
Number one reason is capital, lack of capital. Business,
Okay.
like, early stage businesses run out of money.
Is it because they're taking too much out for themselves, or they don't have enough?
No, they and I would say most of the time it isn't even of any fault of their own, especially tech companies, early stage tech companies. It takes way more capital to build something than people know. Engineering talent is very expensive, server costs are very expensive, marketing a product is very expensive, and it's easy to blow through millions of dollars in a matter of months. The next biggest reason that I see people fail is just purely ego. It is, like I said, not coachable.
Ego's the enemy.
Ego's the enemy. They're not willing to learn, they're not willing to grow, and they are ultimately the ones that kill their own businesses. Because in some cases, some people would rather be right, or get their way at least, than win.
Yeah. So you went from building one of the most recognized brands in the world to writing a book, coaching, advising. What does success actually look like now, and has that definition changed at all?
It's changed a lot. For a long time, my definition of success was based on business success, which means you're building a business, it's growing, you're hiring people, you're profitable, you continue to do that, you continue to grow month over month, year over year. And that's great. Like, that's fun. But it's no longer my long-term definition of success. And
Okay.
the way I kind of think about it is, I think success is living your life in a way that you're enjoying life, you're fulfilled, you have purpose. And having a successful business does not have to be a part of that. I highly doubt that there are a group of monks sitting around in Tibet who live a very peaceful, fulfilled, meaningful life thinking, gosh, like, I really should have went to business school. I should have built a business. I should have been an entrepreneur. I should sit on more Zoom meetings and respond to more emails.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that they're not successful by any means.
Yeah.
Maybe they've figured out a secret that the rest of us haven't quite grasped yet. I'm trying to get closer to that point in life.
Yeah, it's more peaceful. Do you think anyone can be a business owner?
Yeah. I think anyone with an idea, some discipline, determination. I don't even want to say that it takes a certain amount of intelligence. I think hard work will beat brains any day of the week.
Just showing up.
Just showing up, being consistent. Like, consistency is the key. Somebody who phones it in and has 160 IQ
Yeah.
is going to lose to somebody who didn't go to college and shows up every single day and doesn't quit.
I ask this a lot with people. Talk about sacrifice, work-life balance. A lot of people say, you started this business, or they just look at the end product. They don't even ask you how you started the business. But what does sacrifice contribute to your success? I'm sure there was endless nights, 24-hour days, no sleep, bad relationships. What does sacrifice pay or contribute to your success from StockX?
Yeah, and first of all, I would say I don't believe there's any such thing as work-life balance. I think it's all life, and you prioritize the things that are important to you. Often we have to sacrifice things for the things that are important to us. Sometimes those things are temporary, sometimes they're permanent. But if you're going to go into building an early stage startup and you're going to work 70, 80 hours a week, you're going to work 7 days a week, you are going to sacrifice the quality of your relationships. You are going to sacrifice some of the time you spend with other people. I don't have kids. I know people who have done it. It's really hard. They see their kids a lot less. They spend a lot less time with their significant others. They do a lot less of the things that they love. Now, for me, I was willing to do some of those things because I wanted to get to a point where I could do more of the things I love and do them for as long as I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out that way. And the reality is most startups fail, most businesses fail. And if you're making decisions purely based on data, the intelligent thing to do is to get a 9-to-5 job and save wisely and retire at a reasonable age and live comfortably.
Yeah.
But that's as good as it gets if you do that. And if you want something more than that, if that is not motivating you, not fulfilling you, there is another path. But it comes with its own challenges, its own sacrifices, and there are things that you will give up along the way if you decide to go down that path.
So what's your thought on hanging out with people who are like-minded, or like my dad always used to say, you are who you hang out with?
Yeah.
My friend circle got smaller. I started hanging out with a whole sorts of different age of people, but very open-minded, and that's kind of how I transcended and got to the next level. What's your thought about who you hang out with? How important is it to your success?
Quality over quantity, always. And I like to hang out with people who either share my values or have already gotten to a place that I want to get to.
Awesome.
Because that's how you learn. Like, that's the energy you absorb, that's the value system you become a part of, and anything less than that will drag you down.
Last question I have for you, how important is mentorship and what does it mean? And people that are watching this, because you talk about ego and I'm not going to call her, I'm not going to talk to him. How important is being open-minded and just finding a mentor to help you get to the next level or just learn?
I think it's critical. First of all, I would say seek out a mentor, seek out multiple mentors. There, especially in business, there are going to be people with much different skill sets who can all serve as mentors that are going to be able to help and guide you and lead to your growth in many different ways. But if you're not functioning with a growth mindset, if you're not looking at the world through a lens of, I'm not perfect, but I want to improve, there are things I know I need to improve upon, it's going to be really hard to be successful in anything. And I don't even mean like from a financial perspective.
Just
I mean,
in general.
In general, in your relationships, in anything you do, anything you want to be good at or get better at, if you're not willing to listen to other people who have already lived those experiences, who already have that knowledge in their heads, then you're only going to learn from mistakes that you make. And that's a really difficult way to get to where you want to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not a shortcut at all.
No, I mean, like think of how powerful it is to be able to learn from mistakes other people have made that they're willing to share with you.
So you don't have to repeat that.
You don't have to repeat them. You don't have to go through that experience yourself. You don't have to lose that time. You don't have to lose that money.
The heartache.
The heartache, the stress.
Yeah.
The things that keep you up at night, the things that really slow you down as a human being. What if you knew all of those secrets to life and success and happiness and fulfillment, and it was just laid out right in front of you? It'd give you one hell of a head start on almost anything you're trying to do.